Dungeon 26 is inspired by the Dungeon 23 concept by Sean McCoy. The idea is to create one room of a dungeon a day for 1 year, culminating in a 12-level megadungeon with 365 rooms. I found out about this and was inspired by the Paradiso YouTube channel and all the work they did over there, and have decided to take on the project myself. I want to learn more about game design and lore, so this opportunity is more than apt. This is all for the first half of the second quarter of 2026. I don't like months, I work within weeks and quarters of the year, so a little bit of February will be in here as well. So without further ado, let's get on with the first level. Here, we start the dungeon and enter into the windswept spikes of the drylands. A century has passed since the stony blight had left its cold scar about the land, and although its spread has subsided, the ripple effect to the surrounding land is still shifting and adapting. The drylands is no exception. This place was once a lush and abundant valley, and has since turned to a dry and cracked land. The spikes have formed from decades of erosion and rain, creating a terrain that most people dare not venture into. We meet our intrepid travelers at the edge of the southern dwelling. They've been tasked to return a seed, stolen from an ancient city in an attempt to put this part of the world back into balance. Animals were also affected by the stony blight. Here, they meet a sand snake. Tracking you through scent trails, these swift and giant creatures are blind of sight. But beware of the bite from them, for its venom, once set into your blood, will send a fatal drought throughout your body, causing you to mummify if not remedied fast enough. Next up is a bridge that was crafted to cross the dryland canyon from above. Nothing much to report. Some people don't believe there is a necessary reason to enter down into the drylands, and so this bridge is the most practical solution to cross over it. I haven't quite figured out what would be the accurate architectural style or system. I thought having these bulbous, lumpy characteristics, kind of like they just piled up fistfuls of mud into columns and then mud bricks for connecting under the path structures, would suffice. The end of the week presented a border, so I thought to end the drylands with an entrance of some mysterious man-made tunnel. This could be a dungeon entrance all on its own. There are whispering sounds emanating from the woods above the entrance. Tendrils of luminescent vines fall down into the canyonlands, a stark reminder of how the land was before the blight affected the terrain. This concludes the first 4 days of this daily dungeon challenge, and I had decided to change paper type. I thought it would be nice to work in watercolor, painting as I go. I moved the previous days onto the new paper and started on what I call the village ruins. We have made our way out of the canyonlands and are at the edge of the citadel. These outskirt dwellings are in ruins now. People haven't lived here in ages. This place used to be where ones who had trade to do at the citadel lived, but had no desire to stay within the walls. The rural life had seemingly more benefits than to be among the others, in the bustling, tightly packed pathways and housing stacked one above the other. That was no place for the sheep keepers and weavers. Although these people have managed outside the walls and did not suffer the pains of the stony blight, they too have fallen, but to a different peril. I have, at this moment, started to feel that I was running through biomes and landscapes too fast. This single room could become an entire level all in itself. There are so many things to learn with this dungeon challenge, and it's proving to be quite the adventure. Here is where I begin to ponder moral standings. And what is the connection with the players and the plant and animal world they encounter? We know that it was greed within humankind that had set upon the destruction of the earth, And although the animals are aware of the devastation that humans have done, will our players seek to be kind or see the anger from the animals as a reason for defense? Might it be that we should stay out of their way and not assume that all we encounter should be taken down? Will animals be friends or foe? Will we be gifted or cursed for each animal encounter gone awry? So here is actually when I figured out that the blight had created a massive ripple effect on the land surrounding where it had been released. This part of the land was pushed from its original place, like a mudslide carrying along what lies below with it, and has disturbed the grave of this horseman ghost. Here, our travelers learn about the outer forest of the citadel and the people that used to reside here. There used to be an old gravesite that had been long neglected, pulling up other ghosts from their deep slumber. They wander the forest, trying to find peace and a new place of rest. So within these past days, I had been pondering the fact that a bunch of these places could become much larger, and that I was burning through the biomes so fast that burnout would soon arrive if I didn't act. But I was ignoring that fact and was painting these days, until I decided to expand on the desert theme. I went back to the dotted paper. The final paper change, I swear. This paper is incredibly tiny. I would like to have a bigger version, but you work with what you have. So I have taken the Canyonlands concept and expanded upon it to encompass an entire level. There is so much storytelling to be had, and since this is the first dungeon, I thought it would be nice to have a little desert civilization within. Although the landscape had drastically changed, the residents of old still remain. The Cedronis people were the textile artisans of the citadel. Pushed to the outer edges of the forest, they manufacture the clothes for them. To this day, they still pass on the skill of cloth making, learning to adapt to the terrain and as well as the new plants that have arrived and can imbue clothing with magical properties. They recognize the old gods, sun, moon, water, wind. Altars of each are at the two entrances. They protect and greet the beings that cross into and out of the village. Unfortunately, just outside the walls of the Cedronis peoples, we come across some ill-fated travelers. Here, we see what the bite of a sand snake can do. It wasn't long that these dried husks have been here. They still have gear and clothing and other things that other beings would have taken. There are creatures that wander these canyons, and the smell of these travelers will surely bring about something. Sand snakes, in particular, will usually come back to their bitten prey. If a person is particularly muscular, they're treated as a jerky of sorts for the snakes. Scorpion crabs are other creatures attracted to the vibrations made from other animals, be it from wandering lost in the area or the scuffling rumble of creatures fighting. They roam around the canyons, following creatures, and scavenge the leftovers or what was abandoned for one reason or another. I could share with you some more sand snake lore. Their exploitable weakness is their blindness. Their heightened senses of touch and smell have made it possible to never need to use their eyes. The cave systems within the walls of the Canyonlands are where they nest. Entryways, often littered with the bones and mummified parts, leave a stink they are able to connect to in case they stray too far from home. Sometimes there are treasures there, but only for the brave and most curious of people to discover. There is an entryway that goes down into the depths of these canyons. The Cedronis people knew that the land they once loved had sunken down underground and was swallowed up by the sand. They believed they could reach it if they traveled low enough. There are pockets of water closer to the surface that they built their little village around. There are also giant holes that had formed from the soft earth above that showed an oasis below. The entrance here used to serve as the main road to the lower village. Not many people frequent this path anymore. The Cedronis were driven back up to the surface by a mysterious and terrible creature. Not much is spoken of that creature or why they stopped building. All that is mentioned is, well, nothing. The pathway underground looks as though time has stopped. Dust covers ornate pottery, and the walls to the cavern below have been painted. It looks as though this was a bustling road. You can almost sense the rush of excitement and returning to the old world in the air surrounding you. But it is silent, and the air is still. There is no movement, only you and the path that winds deeper into the darkness. Although the path seems welcoming and unassuming, this path hasn't been used by the villagers in ages. There is more development and structures closer to the surface of the cave system. It is more decorated and sculpted into smooth walls with painted patterns, but the further down you go, it turns to abandoned construction sites. The engineers were the last people to leave this place. But we will save that for another time. These here are tiny little rock creatures. Tiny little inoffensive creatures, seemingly. But beware, they can get a little bit cranky. Here is another little sand snake encounter. I wanted to build a den, a place where they come and go and where the jerky people are. And some trinkets or goodies. These are the tall jackals. They are very energetic and wild creatures. They love to scavenge. I tried to make a bunch of creatures that roam around the land, and you can roll whether or not the adventurers encounter them or not. These tall jackals can also lead you astray quite easily, for they also enjoy coaxing people into areas where there are more tall jackals waiting. So this officially concludes the Q1.1 of my megadungeon. It is all of January and like a week of February. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'm super excited and have learned a lot from this experience, and I'm ready to continue on with the second part of Q1. Thank you for being here, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Please do that. Like and subscribe. Also, if you made it this far, comment down below a sun emoji so I can see who made it this far. Thank you for being here regardless, and I will see you in the next video.